You may be asking, or you may be thinking, why are there videos about English language learning on a YouTube channel called Old World Meets New World with Alessandro Massaro? That's me. Thanks for joining. And the answer to that question is, there's nothing like combining hard work and motivation from the old world with new and better ways for teaching and learning from the new world. So today's video is for ESL students or English language learning students, and I'm going to speak about input, output, and feedback. Now, in my opinion, these three parts of learning and teaching are the most important, not only for learning English, but for learning anything. However, they have to be meaningful to you, the learner. They have to be connected to each other. And I'll give examples of this. So input is not only reading and listening, but also everything we watch and everything we see. Now, I've spent almost my whole life either learning English or teaching it in the United States. So input is all around us. Now, the input has to be meaningful to our goal or goals. And the input should be a little more difficult than our level. If the input is the same as our level or below our level, we learn nothing. If it's a little bit difficult for us, we learn something. Now, if it's very difficult for us, it could be frustrating. However, if this input is meaningful and connected to our goals, we're going to use that motivation and that hard work from the old world and do everything we can to learn it. Then, output, speaking and writing. And there are many activities. We can have structured activities and spontaneous. Structured ones, that you're going to find them in textbooks, on the internet. Spontaneous, they are spur of the moment. They are impromptu, not planned. So I taught at a community college in Boston for a long time. All of my students, almost all of my students' goals were to graduate from a college or a university in the United States. So it was easy for me to find good input from me. In the first years I taught, I used ESL books, but I quickly threw them away because they weren't very helpful. I started going towards using a novel, finding a movie and songs that connected to that novel, and that was the students' input. And for spontaneous activities, I take the students to a museum that connected with the novel, and we would speak about it at the museum. I even took them to restaurants, or I even invited them to my home where we did some cooking. We made wine together, or we went fishing. I just wanted to see how their English was out of the classroom, because the classroom sometimes is artificial. It's not real. You take the learner out of the classroom, you really see what they know and don't know. So I have to, you always want to get feedback. Every learner wants feedback. Of course, the feedback should be positive. You don't want everything to be negative. So I would listen carefully to them as they spoke. I couldn't correct everything, obviously, but I would repeat something that they had said incorrectly. Of course, I would repeat it correctly, and you could see them thinking, and then slowly but surely, they learned how to self-correct. And that's what we're looking for as learners. We want to be able to correct our own mistakes. That's the purpose of feedback. Now, I don't know how you are learning English, but artificial intelligence and voice recognition programs are improving every day. So take advantage of them. I have always used technology in the classroom. I believe in it. However, I also believe in people. So at some point, you have to get feedback from a proficient English speaker, writer, reader, and so on. You want to avoid the BLB problem. Do you know what BLB stands for? Take a guess. write it in the comments. I'll get back to you, or somebody will get back to you. And it's useful to use a rubric. A rubric is like a checklist. Like when we go shopping, we want to remember what we have to buy. A rubric, somebody listens to you speak, or somebody reads what you have written, and you've got a short checklist. You don't want the rubric to be too long, because it's impossible to try to fix everything at once. And then the feedback tells you what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Drink a glass of wine for your strengths, and work on your weaknesses. In my many years of teaching, I compared my students to a piece of Swiss cheese. Have you ever eaten or seen a piece of Swiss cheese? It's a piece of cheese, and there are gaps or holes in it. However, every piece of Swiss cheese has different gaps or holes, and that's what my students were like. My job, your job as a learner, is to identify your gaps and close them as soon as possible. That's the importance of feedback. So if this feedback is connected to our prior knowledge is everything we have learned in our lives from the moment we were born until now. All that information is our prior knowledge. Feedback should be connected to that. Also, the feedback has to be connected to our proficiency in our native language. Proficiency means how good do we know our native language? How's our vocabulary? How's our grammar? Because we can use that information to help us learn English. And the feedback should also be connected to our critical thinking. Critical thinking means taking information from different places, putting that information together to find the truth, and making logical and intelligent conclusions. So if we can put input, output, and feedback together and connect them and have meaning, and they all be meaningful, we will learn much more quickly. Please check out my English language learning website. There are many examples. However, many of my posts require hard work and motivation. But if you do them and submit any writing to me, I will give you feedback. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck.